Hello, everyone. I'm really excited today to really have a special guest. I don't know if you remember back, for those of you who have been part of the Miracle You for a while now, we started an Awakening series. And the first episode of the Awakening series was about wake ups. And I was blessed to have my wife, business partner, energy worker, and during COVID 19, my barber, my hairstylist, just a little bit of everything, Mary with me today. And we're also going to mix it up a little bit by recording this both video and audio instead of just the audio for the podcast. So, for those of you who get the opportunity to see the Miracle You for the first time in video, there will be no edits to this. It's just Mary and I hanging out together, talking about what's happening in our lives right now, what's happening in the world right now. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, it'll be just as normal. You'll be able to find the episode on the Miracle You. Mary, welcome today.
Thanks, Vince. This is fun.
It's so exciting to have an opportunity to share. And as most people in the world right now, we're stay at home. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 virus has affected so many of us in so many different ways. And I was wondering if you'd share a little bit of how it's affected you, how this lockdown, this stay at home has affected you.
Well, I would say it's just been a really fascinating experience because for you and I, and for many, many people, especially entrepreneurs and coaches, etc., it's kind of the same. We have our home-based businesses and we're on Zoom all the time. And in your case, you're doing podcasts. But I think what's really interesting on a personal level is I miss eating out. I miss the experience. I miss the connection. I miss being in a restaurant with other people, the music, what's going on, the energy, the joy of beautiful food, and really connecting with your weight person. I know that probably is like, not a big deal, Mary, but it really is, because we're really suffering from lack of connection. And what's so fascinating is, what is our life like now without the usual connections that we all have had and are used to?
Well, that's for sure. One of the things that I noticed the other day was I went to the Sam's Club. I was doing some shopping there, and I had absolutely no interaction with anybody the whole time I was in the store. Matter of fact, people turned away, went in the other direction. The cash register manager stood off in the distance, and I had absolutely no contact with them in any way. So we are blessed in many, many ways with the fact that we work with our clients on the internet. We do Zoom meetings, as you said. We've done FaceTime. We even do FaceTime with the family, and we do miss that connection. And the other thing that I really want to emphasize, I go back and one of my mentors, Jack Canfield, shared with us one time that we need human contact too, not just words, not just interaction, but we truly need body contact. So I miss the hugs, and I think Jack told us we needed 18 hugs a day to just um, survive, not even to thrive. So I miss that part of it. It- we are lucky. I mean, I'm home and not flying as much as I would have for United Airlines. But there's so many people out there that are affected other than just not having this contact. What do you think about that? Can you share some of the things that they're feeling?
Well, I mean, it's just evident if you talk to people online and you are on Facebook. There's just so much despair and hopelessness. And, when is this going to end? And what's it going to look like when it does? Really close to our hearts are the teachers out there that are have been ripped out of their classrooms, and they care and love their students so much. I mean, I don't care what grade it is, all the way up to the university level. You can really see how hard it is on them, and how hard it is on the children. And think about the kids that didn't get to graduate in person with their class this year, and it just goes on and on and on. And I think the one thing, excuse me, the one thing that we've all learned from this, or need to learn from this, is we're all connected. So we're being affected on so many levels, not just poor Mary that can't go out to eat, but you know, many energetic levels and many physical levels. Like you said, we are connected, in everything we do. It ripples out and affects everyone else at every degree, every level.
That's one thing that we don't really take the time to think about. And energetically, as we share through all our programs, especially into the quantum world, as we discuss that with our clients, we talk about how energy from one side of the world can affect energy on the other side instantaneously, without any clear path, without any connection. But we have gotten an opportunity to physically see how something that can happen completely on the other side of the world can affect us in minimal time. It can drop into our lives so fast. And when you talk about just at United Airlines slowing down 90% of their flights, and how that affects the workforce, and how it affects our economy. The other people that we know that are out of work, and some of them, they're waiting for that stimulus check, if you will, just to be able to feed their families. So there's such a huge effect on this. But one of the things that we do at Imagine Miracles is try to find a gift. And I know we both call the COVID-19 situation that we're in right now a wake up call. Could you share a little bit about what we're seeing in this wake up, and what do you mean by wake up, and where will it take us?
Well, I think, where will it take us? Wow, that's a scary one, right? And what are we waking up to? We're waking up to the fact that we have to work together. We create our lives. We have to have a vision. We have to have a single vision, a family vision, a community vision, a world vision for where we're going to go. I think it's a huge wake up. Are we waking up to the fact that there isn't one individual on this earth that hasn't been affected? Yes, we've all been affected, and we can't pretend that, oh well, it didn't really affect me, my life didn't really change. It did change, it did affect you. And how are we going to move forward? And are there people that haven't awakened, they're not aware? And what does that mean when you have a collective wake up like this? And one of the things I think about is, we've had collective wake ups, war, revolution, etc. And yes, people have died, and it's so heartbreaking. But look at how we're all able, thanks to technology and such, how we're able to work together to help people and donate money and support one another, even though in many cases it's virtual.
One of the things that you said there that really touches home is we're waking up to so many things. And with crisis wake ups in the world and in our lives, the universe is trying to get our attention. They're trying to shake us and say, you know, do you know that you're here to live a more effective life? Do you know you're here to live a more abundant life, a happy, healthy one, where you're bringing all of you to the world? And so many of us are just getting by. We think life is as good as it gets. I personally said in the cockpit not too long ago that, what a wonderful time to be at United Airlines for the new pilots to be into aviation. And then overnight, boom, this wake up call drops in our lap and makes us think about are we really living life true to ourselves? Are we really experiencing life the way that it was meant to live? What kind of things, if we step into who we are and really look at why we're here, what kind of benefits could come from it if we take this wake up call as something personal, both collectively and individually, and take it personally in a way that we start looking at creating the life that we want. We start looking at what we're meant to be. What kind of things could happen from that?
Wow, I think a lot of amazing things could happen by really doing your work and finding out who you are and why are you here. You could help the future after we're not in lockdown anymore. You know, what is an aligned way for you to volunteer or start a new business? How can we be more an expression of who we really really are and not what we've thought we should be? How do we move from materialism? I mean, everyone would agree to whatever your opinion is about it. We really do subscribe to materialism and have acted as if that were the number one thing in our lives, but we're all seeing that that's not so important anymore, and for a lot of us it's been taken away. There's so much out there to know and express and do, but how do we know what that is?
If we were talking collectively, what kind of benefits or where's the need for us to wake up and really bring the wholeness of us to the world? Um, things like leadership, things like helping others experience themselves. What kind of things do you see is out there for people who are ready to listen to the wake up call and step into that?
Well, I think when they find out who they are and find their talents and gifts and their process, it's unlimited what they could do, and to decide what they want and decide collectively, what do we want? How do we want to be led now? But one of the last things we want to do is be led the way we've been led in the past. We don't want to go back to old thinking and old ways. We want to be thinking for ourselves and thinking as a collective. How do we want to look at our future? Who do we want to lead us? Who is in our government? It's not necessarily political. It's what kind of person or what ideal client, what ideal leadership do we want? And what about you personally? What do we want for ourselves, and what do we want for our lives going forward?
When you lived life Back to the Future, a wonderful movie series, but when you're talking about living life back to the future, you're destined to repeat the same things over and over and over again, especially when you're coming from the place of old beliefs or old habits and patterns that have kept you comfortable, safe, but really not living the life that you want to live and where you want to go. Quantum physics talks about us being the creators of our reality, and so many people, when I share that in a podcast or I share it in a talk, or even when I'm talking one on one with someone, uh, it's really hard to accept that we're the creators of our reality. So, one of the things that everyone needs to do is, what is your creation in this experience that we're having right now? It might not be the actually having the virus, but what are you gaining from? What are you learning about? What gifts and talents might you uncover in this staying at home, in this spending so much time with your family, and being um, discouraged from doing the things that you've enjoyed to do up to now? Many of those things we look to make us happy. Many of them we look to keep us content. But what we find is, as long as we're looking on the outside for all of that, not necessarily going to last. But when we can develop it and find it on the inside by really discovering who we are and how we're here to make a difference in the world, now all of a sudden we don't need those things on the outside to make us happy, to keep us content. And maybe the co-creation of the second wave, as we've been told is coming, won't be necessary. We can actually step into to all we are. And so what one thing that you said just a second ago was you talked about being aligned and getting your answers. What did you mean by that?
Well, part of that process of really finding who you are and what makes you you is finding that internal guidance that we all have and learning how to find accurate and deep answers to your questions about who am I and what can I do coming out of COVID? Or if COVID lasts a little longer, what can I do during COVID? But we, as you know, you and I talk all the time about our process that we've created, our programs to really help people find all of these answers and then go forward with their life, create what they want.
And those answers have to come from the inside of you. You've got to get in touch with your guidance. You've got to understand that Vincent's answers and Mary's answers might be good answers, but they're not necessarily the ones that are going to help you on your journey, help you on in your future, and stop living back to the future and start living in the now to create that future. So thank you for that, Mary. I really appreciate you taking it a little bit further and sharing with us. Um, what's going to happen if we don't wake up?
Ooh, there could be bigger wake ups. I don't know about you, but I think this one's plenty big. And I really just, what's the word I'm looking for? I appeal to all of you that are listening. You know, let's be conscious of what we're saying and what we're thinking about, and let's roll up our sleeves and really understand what it means to create um, who we really are, our divine intent, why we're here on this earth. It's certainly not to be suffering. It's really not. And so I guess that to answer your question is let's not create bigger wake up calls than this one.
When we talked about wake up calls a little bit earlier in the podcast, I mentioned crisis and conscious, and there really are two types of wake up. The conscious wake up, where you just get to that place where you know there's more to life, you know you don't want to live another COVID-19, you know you want to surround yourself with leadership at the local level, at the country level, even leadership in the world who is going to support us, really understanding that we do affect each other exactly the way COVID-19 has shown us that we've affected each other. And in that, we start developing a community, not just a local community, but a worldwide community that will help bring that all into the world. The crisis wake up, that's a little bit different, and we've all experienced them somehow or another. It might be a death in the family. For me, a divorce. Others, a loss of a job. Still others, maybe some type of disease. Those wake up calls, if you've had one or if you've had somebody in your family who's had one, there's that moment in time where it's like, I am going to live life different than this. I am going to enjoy myself. I am going to have an exciting life. I am going to find joy in my life. That's what this wake up call is presenting to us. And I know as it goes on further and further and further, because I see it in social media, I hear it from my clients. Um, what we're hearing is we're getting tired of this. So what do you do when you get tired of it? Do you rebel and blame the world? Do you leave yourself in a situation where you're a victim and you have no control? Or do you do, as Mary said, do you start finding the real you? Do you start taking charge of your life? Back to the quantum physics. Do you become the creator of the reality that you want? And that's what we're looking at in this moment. I know it's difficult out there. What's some of the wishes that you have for the people that are experiencing this with us?
Well, of course, my first wish is that everyone find peace and joy. Um, my my wish is that we all come together and work together, be creative, find new ways. I I don't really know what more, that's such a big wish, but I really believe we can all do it. I really do. I believe in every single person, and I believe what you and I are doing and so many other great heart-centered people are doing. I really believe it can happen.
What would you say one piece of advice you'd like to give everyone before we say goodbye today?
Well, I don't think we can do it alone. So, a piece of advice is just like with me. I've made a lot of transformations in my life because I have the privilege of living and working with Vince. And when I need some coaching, I get to say, "Hey, Vince, I need some assistance with this," and I'm not doing it alone. And as many of you know, we have a third partner, the roundtable. We have that level of guidance, and both Vince and I have learned how to follow our own internal guidance and know who we're listening to. That's a trick. It's a lot of people say, yeah, I get guidance, I get visions, I know. But how do you know that it's really from your heart? How do you know that? How do you prove that to yourself? And that's something that Vince and I can help you with. And so that would be a piece of advice: is find someone to help you to uh, make sure you're clear, to have a vision, to have a blueprint, and to, in some cases, keep you in check.
Yeah, as many of you know, and Mary will attest to, I am definitely a type A personality. People would argue with me sometimes on that, but I do believe that I can do things myself. I believe that I could change my life by going out and getting another book, and I could change my life by going to some great mentors. Mentioned Jack Canfield before. Mary and I have been in Joe Dispenza's programs and gone through some of his work. John Maxwell, Debbie Ford. We've done Bruce Lipton's work. We've read and studied up on some of the greatest books from Greg Braden. We've looked at science and we've looked at spirituality from the mind point of view as we've done a lot of that. And what we realized is that it can be done, and it took me 10 years to put together all the materials that we have in our programs to help people in a 3-day, a 7-week, a 1-year program, instead of doing all the work, all the research, all the proving to yourself that, you know, just having a coach from time to time, having a mentor, a guide to help you get back on the path or find the path is really what opens the door. So I know, Mary, that during this tough time, as we're staying at home or going to be released a little bit from the governor this weekend, I know that you want to share something with everyone on what you'd like to give them from the goodness of your heart to help them wake up, to help them move into the next step. Could you share that?
Well, first of all, I'd love to talk to anyone out there that would love to just spend, several minutes on Zoom or on the phone and just see, how are you doing? Where are you at? And, maybe we could figure out a solution together. And we do have your unique purpose formula that we can share with you. And we can talk through that. You can give me a call and we can talk about that formula, and it'll really give you an idea of what we've been talking about these last several minutes about how do you find who you are and how do you move forward and how do you help others move forward.
There's several different ways that you can let Mary know that you would like to take her up on that time. And as she said, for anybody who gets in contact with Mary, we will share our Your Unique Purpose formula with you, so you have the exact steps that we use in our programs to help you step out of the lower vibrational emotions that we're all experiencing during this time as we're locked away, if you will, with COVID-19. So you can go to imaginemiracles.com, and there's a opportunity for you to sign up for a Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session with Mary on that. You can go to themiracleyou.com, and there's an opportunity there. Just click on the box. It will send you to a sign up form where you can request some time with Mary. And we'll even go a little bit further if you go to imaginemiracles.com/I am ready. That's IAMREADY. I am ready. You can sign up for some time with Mary also. Mary, I want to thank you for spending time with me today. It's always exciting to get into some of the things that are affecting the people in our lives, that are affecting us, to share with people just how amazing and magnificent and empowered they can be. We're so excited to have this opportunity to share with you. And as we find the gift in the COVID-19 shutdown, if you will, the gift is that we are learning that we are all one, that we affect each other no matter the distance. We're learning that we need that contact, both mentally and emotionally. We need to have the community that surrounds us because we are community animals. And in that fact, that's where we find our strength, that's where we find our power, and that's where we find our joy. So, Mary, thank
Well,
you very much for joining us today. And is there anything you'd like to share on the way out?
I just want to say thank you, Vince. I know people can feel what we've been sharing, and it is such a privilege to be in service to the world with you. And I know that we have so much to give and so much to receive. And I love these precious moments that we share together.
So don't forget to go to imaginemiracles.com, sign up for that session with Mary. As most of you know that listen to the podcast, I have a special way of signing off, and I get to change it today. On behalf of Mary and I, we want to say, have a miracle day.